Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Prophet Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace KAUNTEya Prabhu. And all glories to Assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you for being here as always. And Prabhuji, thank you so much for being here today. Shri KAUNTEya Prabhu.
My pleasure, my honor, my privilege.
Are you still in Germany?
Yes, we are in Köln, which in English is called Cologne.
Oh, Cologne. Oh, okay. Okay, good. Well, thank you for being here. It's very beautiful in so many fronts. One is because we have you. Two is because this is the last verse of the chapter, and you are ending the chapter with us. That is so wonderful. So we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, you want me to put the verse? Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, I'll put it up here.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, I did.
Okay, so we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 11, text 42, the last verse of the chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tadahur Aksharam Brahma Sarva Karana Karanam Vishnur Dhama Param Sakshat Purushasya Mahatmana. Tat, that, Ahu, it is said, Aksharam, infallible, Brahma, the supreme, Sarva Karana, all causes, Karanam, the supreme cause, Vishnu Dhamma, the spiritual abode of Vishnu, Param, the supreme, Sakshat, without doubt, Purushasya, of the Purusha incarnation, Mahatmanaha, of the Maha Vishnu. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is therefore said to be the original cause of all causes. Thus, the spiritual abode of Vishnu is eternal without doubt, and it is also the abode of Mahavishnu, the origin of all manifestations. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Lord Mahavishnu, who is resting in Yoga Nidra on the causal ocean and creating innumerable universes by his breathing process, only temporarily appears in the Mahatattva for the temporary manifestation of the material worlds. He is a plenary portion of Lord Sri Krishna, and thus, although is not different from the Lord, his formal appearance in the material world as an incarnation is temporary. The original form of the personality of Godhead is actually the Swarupa or real form, and he eternally resides in the Vaikuntha world, Vishnu Loka. The word Mahatmanaha is used here to indicate Mahavishnu, and his real manifestation is Lord Krishna, who is called Parama, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karanakaranam. Quote, the Supreme Lord is Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, known as Govinda. His form is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and is the original cause of all causes. Unquote. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 3rd Canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Calculation of Time from the Atom. Om Gyanati Benazagaranjana Sarakaya Chakshurumritamina Tasmai Shri Guru Namo. Namam Vishwabhadagrashabhastaya Budhale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Visharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarvascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So this is a typical Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding of the situation. As you could see, there is no mention of Krishna in the Sanskrit proper, but Srila Prabhupada, both in the translation and, of course, in the purport, really brings that out very clearly. And in this way, he is following the Sampradaya. He quotes Lord Brahma, the chief of our Sampradaya, the first guru in our lineage, from the Brahma Samhita Ishvara Parama Krishna. So in this way, a Gaudiya Vaishnava always sees that the origin of all the other forms of God is Krishna. Recently, we have all celebrated Balaram Appearance Day, and one aspect that we have seen is that is the source of all incarnations. But Krishna is source. Krishna is Swayam Rupa, the original form of God, and Balaram is Swayam Prakash, the original expansion. And from him comes all the other forms. So I was thinking that it could be interesting to take a look at the story in which both Krishna and Mahavishnu interact. And this is when Krishna was present in Dwaraka 5,000 years ago. Okay. So some of you remember very well this episode is chapter 89 of the 10th canto and is entitled Krishna and Arjuna Retrieve a Brahmana's Sons. So what happened? We are talking about a situation in Dwaraka. And Shukadeva Goswami says that once a Brahmana's wife gave birth to a son. But as soon as he was born, this baby died. Now, something interesting, I find it interesting socio-politically, because now we will never think of doing something like that. But the Brahmana went to the court of King Ugrasena, the king of Dwaraka, and put the little corpse on the door of the king of the court. And he spoke very harsh words. He said, I'm reading also some of the verses to give you the exact emotions. He said, talking about the king, Ugrasena is a great devotee, is the king of Dwaraka, where Krishna lives. The Brahmana said, this duplicitous, greedy enemy of Brahmanas, this unqualified ruler addicted to sense pleasure has caused my son's death by some discrepancies in the execution of his duty. Citizens serving such a wicked king who takes pleasure in violence and cannot control his senses are doomed to suffer poverty and constant misery. So, in other words, he completely took this birth and this death, the death of his newly born, as the fault of the king. Obviously, physically, the king was in his palace. The wife had this baby somewhere. So, what does the king to do with the baby dying? But somehow, the culture, the understanding was that if the king would do his duties properly, nothing bad will happen. Hmm? So, in fact, we don't see from the Baghdad that anybody complained. They just somehow they were very embarrassed, very pained by this situation. Now, the problem is that the same exact tragedy happened with the second and the third child. And in the initial case, the Brahmana came to the palace of the king and put the little corpse, the little cadaver of the baby, and the same lamentation, the same vituperation, the same insults were shared. Nine. Now, this happened 9 times. So all the 9 children were dead as soon as they were born. So then Arjuna was just near Krishna. He happened to be in Brahmana. So he said, "What's the matter, my dear Brahmana? There is nobody, there is nobody here in the royal order who can at least stand before your house with a bow in his hand." These Kshatriya are behaving as if they were Brahmanas idly engaged in fire sacrifices. So basically, he takes the same mood of the Brahmana. He's a guest in Dwarka. He lives in Hastinapur with his brothers, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakul, and Sahadev. But is with his friend Krishna here. And so he gets into the same mood. And then he makes a very big and solemn promise. He say, "I will protect the progeny of you and your wife. And if I fail to keep this promise, I will enter the fire to atone for my sin." So either I save the next child, because those were born, those were dead and gone. But if I don't am not able to save the next child, I will die myself and I'll enter the fire and commit suicide. So you can imagine the atmosphere is very tense. It's very full of suspense in one sense. Arjuna, famous archer, he's saying, "I will protect or I'll kill myself." But the Brahmana didn't take him very seriously, so he said, "Look, we have Balaram, we have Krishna, we have Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. We have everybody in Dwaraka, and nobody could save my sons. So why you like naively attempt to that something that they even these almighty lords of the universe could not perform?" So Arjuna said, Look what they say. I mean, this is Arjuna, our respectful and of course exemplary devotee. He says, "I am neither Lord Sankarshan or Brahmana, nor Lord Krishna, nor even Krishna's son. Rather, I am Arjuna, wielder of the Gandiva bow. Sorry. Do not minimize my ability, which was good enough to satisfy Lord Shiva. O Brahmana, I will bring back your sons, dear master, even if I have to defeat death himself in battle." Wow. Oh, so then what happened? The Brahmana got somewhat encouraged. I mean, Arjuna was so serious, so sure that he said, "Okay." So he went home and somehow he was satisfied. At least, okay, there's one Kshatriya, one warrior that he takes full responsibility. Then what happened? Arjuna made his own move. He touched pure water as part of the protocol, as part of the process. Then offered obeisances to who? He offered obeisances to Shiva. And the Acharyas explained that because the Brahmana had disrespected Lord Krishna, Arjuna offered his obeisances to Lord Shiva instead, because Lord Shiva had taught it the mantras of the weapon Pashupata. So he started this procedure, and what he did was he made a fence. He made like a cage around the house of the Brahmana by arrows. Basically, they were all attached to different brahmastras, to different subtle weapons. And so he made a complete fence around the house. And he covered completely the house, upwards, downwards, and sideways. Then what happened? After some time, the wife gave birth. This was a 10-child. And immediately the newborn infant, you could hear him cry, which is normal, of course, for a newborn. He was crying, yeah, yeah. But then he just vanished in the sky. The other ones had left the corpse, but this one just vanished into the sky in its own self-same body, just disappeared. And then the Brahmana started making fun of Arjuna. He said, just see how foolish I was to put my faith in the bragging of a eunuch. I mean, he called Arjuna the eunuch. So if nobody could have protected him, even Krishna, Balaram, and so on, who can do that? And he just insulted again. Oh, to hell with that liar Arjuna, to hell with that braggart's bow. He's so foolish that he has deluded himself into thinking he can bring back a person whom destiny has taken away. So then he kept insulting and insulting. So then Arjuna, he had promised, look, I'll save the kid even if I have to go to the kingdom of death. So through a mystic incantation, he went to Samyamani, where Lord Yamaraj rules. And then he couldn't see the Brahmana son there. So then he went to the cities of Indra, all different platforms, all different we could say dimensions and planets in the universe. He went to Indra. He went to Agni, the god of fire, Nirriti, Soma, the moon, Vayu, the wind, and Varuna, the lord of the ocean. So he was searching everywhere in the cosmic manifestation, and he went down at the bottom of the universe. Then he went to the ceiling of the universe of heaven, and he could not find this baby anywhere. So then he decided, okay, I gave my word, I'm going to die. So I'm going to do a fire, and I'm going to enter the fire and die, burnt, like self-cremation. Then, as soon as he was just about to enter the fire, Krishna stopped him and he spoke to him. And he said, this is Krishna speaking, I will show you the Brahmana's sons. So please don't despise yourself like this. These same men who now criticize us will soon establish our spotless fame. Then what happened? both Krishna and Arjuna went on Krishna's chariot, and is very clearly said this, the divine chariot. In fact, the Acharya explained even the horses were not material horses. They were divine horses coming with Krishna from the spiritual world. So then went towards west. So from Dwarka, they went west. But here is describing like this old chariot and Krishna Arjuna passed through the Bhumandala region. So they crossed the 7 islands of the middle universe. Middle universe means Bhuloka, Bhumandala. At the center there is Mount Meru, and Bharatvarsha is in a little corner there in Jambudvipa. And then there are these seven concentric islands and concentric oceans created by Priyavrata Maharaj. That will be described at the beginning of the 5th chapter, 5th canto. So then it went over the Loka boundary. The Loka mountains are at the edge, Loka because in the middle of it's a chain of mountain which is like a circle encircling the old Buloka or Bhumandala. And so inside there are people, outside there is no people anymore. Then it crosses this Loka, and another characteristic is that the light of the sun doesn't get there, because these are so high that the sunlight doesn't go there. The complete darkness. So, and the Acharya explained that the horses, because Krishna was playing like an ordinary human being, a prince in Dwarka, also the horses got into this mood of feeling and acting like normal horses. So they lost their way. Like they looked like bewildered. Where we go now? It's all dark. We don't know. So this the Bhagavatam gives the name of these 4 horses: Shaibhya, Sugriva, Megapushpa, and Balahaka. And of course, they're transcendental, but they were showing they're showing to be finite, normal horses. Okay, although Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that they are descended from the Vaikuntha. In fact, you could see that at the very end of Krishna's pastime, described in the 11th canto, then at one point Daruka is the charioteer of Krishna, and he's witnessing Krishna who is about to leave this planet, and first the chariot and the horses go up in the sky, the same horses. So then what happens? Then Krishna, who is called the Supreme Master of Yoga, sent his Sudarshan Chakra before the chariot. And this Sudarshan shone like thousands of suns. In the 9th canto, there are the prayers of Maharaj Ambarish to Sudarshan, and those prayers are so full of theological knowledge. Actually, Sudarshan is the original source of all the luminaries. The sun of the moon, the light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, all comes originally from Sudarshan. Because all luminaries are connected to the power of seeing. Without luminaries, we cannot see anything. And there is no light, the eyes don't work. So Sudarshan is the original vision of the Lord. He is the vision of the Lord, is the glance of the Lord that originally electrifies Pradhan, and it becomes Prakriti, it becomes the Mahatattva. So if you really want to know the glories of Sudarshan, who is not just a weapon, is a person, is an eternal associate, And Srila Prabhupada, at least once he said, is the most dear devotee of the Lord, is a constant companion, and theologically is practically non-different from Krishna, although he serves Krishna. If you want to understand who is Sudarshan, you need to go to the 9th canto. I believe it's chapter 5 at the beginning. And there Ambarish Maharaj gives this beautiful and very important prayers where the nature of Sudarshan is described. So back to our story. Now there is Sudarshan in front of the chariot, so everything becomes very clear. With this blazing effulgence, he makes everything like daytime. And he and the chariot, Krishna Arjuna, cut through this darkness, and it says, the Bhagavatam says, just like an arrow shot from Lord Ram bow cuts through this enemy's army, and they moved at the speed of the mind. So finally, they came out of matter, they came out of the cosmos, and they enter the endless spiritual life of Brahmajyoti. So some of you have experienced, not exactly, but similarly, when you sometimes you take a flight and it's rain, it's dark, it's all cloudy, the whole sky is gray, and then somehow the flight goes over the clouds, and then you see, wow, it's completely clean, the sky is clean, the sun is shining. This, of course, is much more shiny as the Brahmajyoti. But you can get an idea going from matter to the spiritual effulgence of Krishna's body. So at one point, Arjuna saw this effulgence, and he even hurt his eyes. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then, at one point, they kind of jumped over this Brahmajyoti, and there was this Karana ocean, the ocean of causes. And it said there was a water resplendent with huge waves being churned by a mighty wind. Within that ocean, Arjuna saw an amazing palace, more radiant than anything he had ever seen before. And this had a colonnade, thousands of pillars bedecked with brilliant gems. So, in other words, sometimes the picture, we see the illustrations, Mahavishnu is lying on the ocean, there's nothing around, it's like he's swimming on a pool or something. But no, there is like basically, we could say the whole city, the whole abode there, Mahavishnu, and there are thousands of pillars, and this is just the palace. Presumably there are also houses and other other edifices, other buildings, all transcendental, because as you could see, there will be many people living there. Then in that palace, there was this huge serpent, snake, Anantashesha, and he shone brilliantly with the radiance emanating from the gems on his thousands of hoods. So he has thousands of hoods, and he has gems on each of them. So there was this radiance. So then he also had double, of course, because he has one gem on every head. On every head, he has also two eyes. So he said that these eyes are fearsome. I mean, can you imagine how penetrating, intense are the glances of Ananta Shesha? And he said he resembled the Mount Kailash. And his necks and tongues were dark blue. And then on that snake, sitting peacefully, like a relaxed mode, royally, majestically, Mahavishnu was sitting on the snake. And the Bhagavatam describes he had the complexion which is blue, like a dense rain cloud. You have all seen this dense rain cloud. Obviously, this is just an analogy. The vibrancy must have been much higher than a simple dark cloud, but that intense blue, dark color. And he had yellow garment, golden garment. His face looked charming. His eyes was most attractive. Imagine the most beautiful eyes looking like that. And then he had 8 arms. Generally, Vishnu has 4, but here he was sitting with 8 arms, long, handsome arms. Then he was having this locks of hair, bathed on all sides, so resplendent, of course, dark hair, but resplendent with the reflection from the precious jewels of his crown and earrings. So imagine this priceless gold ornaments on his head, on his ears, and by the shining, also the reflections comes on his hair, long hair. Then he had the Kaustuba gem, on his chest, and the Kaustuba gem is said it represents all living entities. Then they had the mark of Shrivatsa, which is a tuft of white hair, also on the chest, and a garland of forest flower. And around him, there was Nanda and Sunanda, all these famous attendants, eternal assistants. And there was Sudarshan Chakra in his personified form, and all the other weapons in the personified form. So, not just as weapons, but as the personality of the weapon. So, there was Sudarshan, Panchajanya, the conch, Kaumodaki, the mace, and the lotus flower, and so on. And then all his consort is a female, feminine potencies, the Shakti of Pushti, Shri, Kirti, and Aja, and all of his various mystic powers. So he was surrounded by all these Shaktis like that. So then something interesting happens. Lord Krishna offered homage to himself in this boundless form. And Arjuna was astonished, bowed down also. So then they both stood up with joined palms. And Mahavishnu spoke with them. And what he says is very intriguing, very, in one sense, very intricate. Very intricate. So we need to understand, we need to be very clear on the Gaudiya conclusions because many people are confused by this. First of all, for instance, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, just as Lord Krishna offered obeisances to his own deity during the worship of Govardhan Hill, so he pays obeisances to Vishnu expansion for the purpose of his pastimes, because he's like his earthly prince. He's not going there as the Supreme Personality of God. He's going there as an earthly prince form from Varaka. So, and it's important to understand, is Achyuta means he never fails in his attempt, in his drama, to be like a human-like pastimes as a coward boy of Vrindavan. So, to safeguard this human-like Leela, then he offered obeisances to Mahavishnu. So, now, he smiled, Mahavishnu, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, very often he gives very deep, supremely profound insights. And he says, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Mahavishnu was thinking, my dear Krishna, by your desire, I will describe my superiority, even though I'm your expansion. At the same time, however, I will implicitly imply in my statement the supreme position of your beauty, character, and power, and the fact that you are the source from which I emanate. Just see how clever I am. This is how Mahavishnu is thinking. That in front of Arjuna, I'm confidentially divulging my true identity as none different from you. So, this was Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we could say, explanation. And then the Bhagavatam continues. Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu said, I brought the Brahmana's sons here because I wanted to see the two of you. My expansions, who have descended to the earth to save the principles of religion. As soon as you finish killing the demons who burden the earth, quickly come back here to me. So, externally or formally, it says, you are my expansions, and now, I sent you down to do some special mission. No, yada yada dharmasya nirbhavi bharata paritranaya sadunam vinashaya duskritam. When you're finished, then come back here to me. So it looks like he sent him then. Now, in the purport by Hridayananda Maharaj, he quotes often Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he is Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained that the secret import of these words spoken for Arjuna edification is as follows, quote, you too, having descended along with your kalas, your personal energy, should kindly return to me after killing the demons who burden the earth. Please quickly send these demons here to me for the sake of their liberation. So it is explained in Sri Harivamsa and in the second canto that the path of gradual liberation passes through the intermediate station of Lord Mahavishnu abode, outside the shells of the universe. Then the Bhagavatam continues describing what Vishnu said, Mahavishnu said. Although all your desires are completely fulfilled, O best of exalted personalities, for the benefit of the people in general, you should continue to exemplify religious behavior as the sages Nara and Narayana. That's it. That's what Mahavishnu said. Then, as soon as the Supreme Lord spoke like this, Krishna Arjuna assented, agreed, and said, Om. And then again they bowed down to Mahavishnu. Then they took the Brahmana's sons, all 10 of them, and they returned with great delight to Dvaraka, with the same route by which they had come. Then they went to the Brahmana, and they gave him 10 sons all at once, all these 10 children. And these children were in the same baby bodies that they had when they died or they disappeared. So they basically were conserved as they were. Although having a baby takes 9 months, it's not that the 10 year that the first boy became like 8-9 year old. No, he was in the same baby born. So this family, you can imagine the joy, the surprise, the overwhelming happiness of getting all the 10 children back as children, as newly born. So Arjuna, he said, was totally amazed to have seen the domain of Lord Vishnu. He went beyond and Arjuna has seen the whole world. I mean, we have seen even before, he went to Indra, he went to all the great demigods, and those are fantastic, according to our experience, fantastic abodes with all sorts of opulences, flying airplanes and all that. But he was amazed of seeing Mahavishnu's place. And he started thinking, oh, look, by Krishna's mercy, even though I'm a mere mortal, a human being, I've seen the Supreme God, the cause of everything. Then he taught again. And here it comes the intricacies of the understanding, which is not may not be immediately understood without the purpose of the Acharya. Then after a moment, he taught again. But why did Lord Vishnu say that he took away the Brahmana's children out of a desire to see Krishna? I mean, Mahavishnu can just come and see Krishna in Dwarka. What's the problem? Why would the Supreme Personality of Godhead hanker to see his own expansion? I mean, if it really was the fact that Krishna was sent by Mahavishnu, I mean, why he has to be so eager? When Krishna's finished, he comes back, he sees him again. This is how Arjuna is thinking. This might be the effect of some peculiar temporary circumstances, but since he said didrikshu na instead of didriksha ta, where the specific suffix shuna carries the sense of permanent characteristic, not a temporary one, it has to be concluded that Mahavishnu has always been wanting to see Krishna myself. So, okay, even like that, why you couldn't just come and see Krishna Dvarka? I mean, Lord Mahavishnu creates all the universes, which is all like a small fruit in his hand. So why couldn't just come down? It is that Arjuna is thinking, is it because Krishna in Dwarka does not allow anyone to see him without a special sanction? And why Lord Mahavishnu, who is the master of all the Brahmanas, have repeatedly tormented a Brahmana year after year? Imagine the agony of this poor Brahmana and his wife, seeing all the children disappearing, dying. And they knew this Brahmana was very honest. He knew it's not my fault. I don't have a karma. He must have also have mystic vision. So he knew it's not my karma. It's not my prarabdha karma. It's not my wife's karma. It must be something else. That's why the Brahmana was alleging that is the king. Is the king fault because he could see, and he was honest. It was a bit harsh, but he was honest. He said, "Look, it's not my fault." He knew it's not my fault that these kids are dying. So why Mahavishnu is the Lord of Brahmanas tormented this Brahmana? So then, he may have acted improperly for that reason, but why? Because he was so eager to see Krishna. But why couldn't he have sent a servant to kidnap the Brahmana's sons? I mean, he is surrounded by extremely powerful personalities, personal weapons, his personal assistants, attendants, warriors, the ultimate warriors. Why did he himself have to come to Dwaraka? Was stealing them out of Lord Krishna capital so difficult that no one but Vishnu himself could do it? And this is still the explanation of what Arjuna was thinking. I can understand that he intended to cause so much distress to a Brahmana of Lord Krishna's city that Krishna would be unable to tolerate. He would grant Lord Vishnu his audience. Lord Vishnu inspired the distressed Brahmana to pour out his complaints to Krishna in person. Thus, it is clear that Sri Krishna's status of godhood is superior to Lord Mahavishnu. So then Arjuna wanted to ask directly Krishna, and there is a verse, not in the Bhagavatam, but in the Harivamsa, and the Lord replies in that verse, he says, "It was to see me that he, the Supreme Soul, stole the children. He believed only on a Brahmana's behalf will Krishna come to see me, not otherwise." So although officially Mahavishnu says, "You are my expansion. I sent you down. I'll come back when you finish." That was just to maintain the lila of Krishna Arjuna as human beings or as avatars, but actually Krishna is not an avatar, is the source of all avatars. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Krishna told also Arjuna, "I did not go there, however, for the Brahmana's sake. I went there, my friend, just to save your life. If it had been for the Brahmana's sake that I traveled to Vaikuntha, I would have done so after his first child was abducted." In other words, Krishna is explaining in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Insight and Realization and Purport. He says, look, if it was to save a Brahmana, I would have gone for the first child. But because you had promised to commit suicide and enter the fire, for your sake I went to Vaikuntha. Okay. And then the Bhagavatam says, Lord Krishna exhibited many other similar heroic pastimes in this world. He apparently enjoyed the pleasure of ordinary human life, and he performed greatly potent fire sacrifice. The Lord, having demonstrated his supremacy, at suitable times he showered down all desirable things upon the Brahmanas and his other subjects, just as Indra pours down his rain. And then there is the final verse in this chapter, the chapter 89 of Canto 10, text 65. It says, "Now that they have killed many wicked kings and engaged devotees such as Arjuna in killing others, the Lord could easily assure the execution of religious principles through the agency of such pious rulers as Yudhishthira." In other words, this happened before the Battle of Kurukshetra. And it's told at the end of the 10th canto to underline the supremacy of Lord Krishna's glories. So, Hare Krishna, I thought of sharing this direct interaction between Mahavishnu and Krishna, because the verse speaks about Mahavishnu. Srila Prabhupada speaks about Krishna and Mahavishnu. And so I thought this was appropriate for us to put our mind into it. Let's also remember this. See, this concept, which is typically Gaudiya, that Krishna is superior to Vishnu. Many other Vaishnavas or normal people in India think, okay, from Vishnu comes all these avatars, including Krishna. It's not like that. First of all, Jayadeva Goswami doesn't put Krishna on the Dash avatar, doesn't put Krishna in the 10 avatars. Keshava Drita Narahari Rupa, like in Nishingadeva, you say these are all forms of Keshava, these are all forms of Krishna. They're not forms of Vishnu, they are forms of Krishna that come down. But let's remember, if you want to know more about this, Jiva Goswami speaks about this in the Krishna Samhita, in the Krishna Sandarbha. He wrote the 6 Sandarbhas. The 4th one is the Krishna Sandarbha, and he conclusively quoting all sorts of scriptures, Jiva Goswami is praying Krishna is supreme. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, and everybody else, including of course Mahavishnu, is his expansion, not the other way around. So I'll stop here. If there are any reflections you like to share, maybe some questions, not too difficult.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Well, Prabhuji, thank you so much. When I first read the translation of the verse, of course, I don't understand the Sanskrit, but I was looking at the words and the transliteration, and I did not see Krishna, but in the translation, there was Krishna. And it's very interesting you highlighted that, because that was a question I had in mind maybe before you spoke, but that has been answered. So that is aside. Thank you. Now, my question is actually like a comment, because when I first read it, I was thinking, well, this is a very good verse for those who say that the living entities never came from Vaikuntha could use, because it says that Mahavishnu is the origin, is the source of all living entities. But then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that it is temporary. And if the living entities are eternal, then obviously their source could not be Mahavishnu. What do you think?
Well, it's a bit of my understanding. It's a bit of a tricky thing when we say that the Purusha avatars are temporary. That obviously doesn't mean that they have a material body like us.
No.
They are eternally temporary. In other words, because the material world is manifested as a cycle, and it also explained that is like considered a dream of Mahavishnu. In other words, Krishna can do whatever he wants with every parts of his body, like he can eat with his glands and so on. So just by dreaming, he creates Mahavishnu creates this temporary reality. Then he enters into this temporary reality as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Then he expands as Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, pervading the whole cosmos. And then at every breath, he, by inhaling, at every breath, he destroys all these universes. So it's like a lila of Mahavishnu. Now, temporary, my understanding is temporary means the manifestation of the universes are temporary, and also we could say Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu are entering temporarily. They enter, they come out, and so on. Like many other avatars, they appear, they descend, they go back. No, there is like a time bound, we could say time bound presence, time bound function, time bound activity, but ultimately Mahavishnu as an eternal form who rules the temporary world. That's my understanding.
Wow.
So these forms of Vishnu, especially Garbhodakashaya, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, you may say they're temporary, but they eternally temporary. In other words, they, just like the material world is said, it's eternal, right? So, but it's manifested and manifested.
Well.
And of course, when we talk about the origin of the soul, fall down, not fall down, I think you all heard so many times about the different explanations, the different theories that float around. So I don't know if we want to get there again, but if you like to discuss, we can discuss.
Well, thank you for the explanation, but I'm sorry to say I have a couple of questions that are not directly related to today's topic. But since you are here, I feel like asking you, because we just celebrated Krishna Janmashtami. And slowly and steadily, it is becoming ISKCON philosophy that Devaki Vasudev Krishna is not Swayam Bhagavan. It is a manifestation of Mahavishnu, which is an expansion of Vasudeva, one of the Chaturvyuhas. And then when that Vishnu, who turned himself as a baby, was transferred to Vrindavan, he merged into Mother Yashoda's son. And therefore, some devotees say that Mother Yashoda gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. And if that is the case, then my question is, how then is it said that Mother Yashoda is the foster mother of Krishna? Devaki is always referred to as the mother of Krishna, but Mother Yashoda is oftentimes referred to as the foster mother. If she gave birth to Krishna, why would she be referred to as the foster mother?
Okay. So I am putting something in the chat so that everybody can read. This is a Bhagavatam purport from Srila Prabhupada, 10th Canto, Chapter 3, Text 47. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses that Krishna appears simultaneously as the son of Devaki and as the son of Yashoda, along with the spiritual energy Yoga Maya. So yes, so I have another brief purport to share. An excerpt. I want to put it in the chat so everybody can see it with their eyes. Sometimes it's easier to see with one's eyes. Okay, this is from, again, the 10th canto, but is from the chapter 5 and the purport to the first two verses. This is again Srila Prabhupada talking. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur desires to prove with evidence from many Shastras that Krishna actually took birth as the son of Yashoda before the birth of Yoga Maya, who is therefore described as the Lord's younger sister. Okay, so our Acharya explained, Acharyas, based on Shastra, different texts, different references, that Krishna appeared both as Devaki and as Yashoda's son. Now, Yashoda is known as foster mother because Krishna apparently wanted to stress that aspect of the Leela. And there's all, we could say, dynamics that which is more, we could say, more stressed publicly or formally. Okay, Vasudeva brings Krishna to Gokula, and then he takes the baby born of Yashoda, he brings it back, and that was a girl. But the Acharyas very clearly say, no, Yashoda had both, a boy and a girl. And of course, Yoga Maya made her what do you call, forget exactly if it was a boy, a boy, a girl, or boy and a girl. So she was exhausted. It was midnight. Everybody already left. There was no a midwife there. So she was just, okay, she had birth, she gave birth, and then she kind of collapsed, a mystical collapse. So, and as you said, yes, the two Krishna, we could say, merged together. So it is said that when Krishna kills the demons, is actually Vasudeva Krishna, because Krishna doesn't kill demons. The original Krishna only plays the flute, he plays with the gopis and so on. So my understanding is that Yashoda is known as foster mother because Krishna wanted to emphasize that relation. It's more, we could say, it's easier to understand in the context of the old Lila. That okay, he was only Vrindavan temporarily, was 10 years, 8 months in Vrindavan, then he went back to Mathura, then he went to Sandipani Muni school, and so on. So ultimately, of course, nobody is the mother of God because God is eternal, and these are, we could say, temporary manifestation of mothers in the material world. But definitely, of course, Yashoda Devi is the eternal mother in the spiritual world. Does it help a little bit?
Yeah, in a way, it's. I mean, you referenced Vishwanath Chakravarti, so I cannot deny that that is the case. But looking at lots of Srila Prabhupada writings, Srila Prabhupada oftentimes will make references of other acharyas. And then there are many times he himself will speak that this is what it is. And I'm wondering if Srila Prabhupada also asserted the fact that Lord Krishna appeared simultaneously. And the reason I'm saying this is because in Canto 10, same Canto 10, chapter 3, which talks about the birth of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says something in the purport that Krishna was given birth to by Devaki and was transferred to Nanda Maharaj's house. And he actually explains here that I think there is one place where he explains that he is Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are father, are parents to Krishna, but in a different way, in a spiritual way. It's not like, materially speaking, you say that this person gave birth to this person. But if I go back to here, so that here, Srila Prabhupada says here, when Vasudeva brought Krishna to the house of Nanda Maharaj, he saw that by Yoga Maya's arrangement, Yashoda, as well as everyone else, was deeply asleep. Thus, he exchanged the babies, taking Yoga Maya from Yashoda's lap and placing Krishna there instead. Then Vasudeva returned to his own place, having taken Yoga Maya as his daughter. He placed Yoga Maya on Devaki's bed and prepared it to be a prisoner as before. In Gokul, Yashoda could not understand whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. She herself could not understand. So who was there to say that she had twins? I'm not doubting anyone, but I just, as a matter of inquisitiveness, I just want to know, like in the case of Bhagavad Gita, I understand that Sanjaya was not there, but he had been given the benediction to see and hear what is going on at a distance. And so he is narrating what he's seeing and reading and hearing, like watching television set. Was that the case with Yashoda Maya's birth?
Okay, thank you. This is very stimulating. You see, yeah, you read, and we all heard about this because this is what we could say predominantly Srila Prabhupada explains. Now, what I quoted and I put it in the chat, it's not just Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is the purport of Srila Prabhupada. It's Srila Prabhupada who says those things. So we need to understand Srila Prabhupada as an author, as an acharya, as an explainer of the scripture. It's a bit, to give an example, as an accordion. You know, the accordion, it's one instrument, but sometimes it's expanded and sometimes it's contracted. So you see the accordion sometimes is small like this, huh? And sometimes it's like this. It's the nature of the accordion. So similarly, when we studied the acharyas, in particular Srila Prabhupada, because he's our obviously prominent reference, sometimes he explains the philosophy, the theology, the lila in a more compact way, in a more concise way, and sometimes in a more expanded way. And this is a good example. Sometimes you just say, okay, Vasudeva takes Krishna, he exchanges with the baby girl, he goes back. That's perfect, but it's not the whole story. So Srila Prabhupada himself, in other words, it's already a perfect understanding, we could say, but a more esoteric understanding, more complete, we could say the expanded harmonium is to understand, not harmonium, sorry, the accordion, also harmonium, but the more complete understanding, the Srila Prabhupada himself, I'm not quoting some purport from other books or other acharya, Srila Prabhupada himself explains those things. And I'm just quoting a little bit. So you have the chat, you can go and see those purports. I only extracted this for a use in the PowerPoint, so it's very short. So you can go there and see how Srila Prabhupada gives all these further details to his own story. And I give you other examples. For instance, sometimes Srila Prabhupada say Krishna creates the world. Now we know it's not Krishna, it's not Shyama Sundar with the two arms and the flute that creates the world. That's Mahavishnu. So again, this accordion analogy could be helpful. So sometimes you just say, all right, Krishna creates the world. But we know it's not exactly Krishna creates the world. Krishna expands, Balaram, the Chaturvyu, or the second Chaturvyu, or the Purusha Avatar, Mahavishnu emanates the universe through his pores, and so on and so forth. So we know that it's a synthetic summary, like a kernel, a kernel description. Krishna creates the world. Another example I can give you, sometimes Srila Prabhupada say that the soul, when a Krishna conscious soul, at the time of death, he goes back home to the spiritual world, right? Back home, back to God. So we have this impression that the pure devotee leaves the body and he goes to Krishna Loka. But several times, also in the Krishna book and in other places, Srila Prabhupada explains that actually the perfected soul, so we are talking about pure devotees, they don't go back immediately to Krishna Loka, they go on a planet where Krishna is doing his pastimes. And then he joins and he sees Krishna for the first time. Srila Prabhupada also says in the Krishna book, and then he gets completely purified. In one purpose, Srila Prabhupada say this pure devotee take a birth in the womb of a gopi. So again, sometimes it's just compressed. The pure devotee dies, goes to Krishna Loka. Perfect. But sometimes, if you get into the description, more detailed description, no, the pure devotee goes where Krishna is doing some pastimes, maybe as Lord Chaitanya or as Krishna, and so on. And then after that life, then he goes to Krishna Loka. So does it help?
Yeah. Oh, everything you say helps so much, but because of, I would say, maybe my conditioning, I'm thinking about it because, of course, I see Harichakra Prabhu's hand up. We'll go to him, and then I will come back to you for a question. The very verse that you quoted, where Srila Prabhupada was speaking about Vishwanath Chakravarti, which is 10:5:1, verses 1 and 2. We'll go there. And you were also talking about how some devotees, when they leave their bodies, they do not go back home, back to God directly. They go to some places where Krishna is performing pastimes, and then they purify themselves further. But we also see when Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, performing his pastimes, there were lots of souls that came to involve themselves in Krishna's pastimes. And at the end, they did not go back to the spiritual world. They went back to their various planets they had come from. So that is also a question, another dilemma. If that is the case, that a soul joins Krishna on a particular planet where he is performing his lila, and from there they go back home, why didn't those individuals go back home? For example, Ashwatthama, no, not Ashwatthama. What's the name of this devotee? Arjun's son, Malik Parikshit's father. What's the name? Please help me.
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu, thank you. Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, for example, is a son of Chandra. And when he came to perform the Leela with Krishna, he did not go to the spiritual world. He went back to Chandraloka. So, well, Harichakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute. Prabhu, I'm sorry. Today we have you, if you may help us clear some of these doubts, because we've been talking about some of these topics for a while without very much conclusive understanding. Harichakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for the explanation. And my question is, most of the time before Krishna performed his pastimes, there is always a backstory that leads to the actual pastime. For instance, his pastime with Jai and Vijay, there is a backstory, and we know the backstory, how Jai and Vijay had to be cursed for them to come down here to perform the pastimes. So the issue of Yashoda and Nanda, and then Devaki and Vasudeva. You know, the backstory says that Devaki and Vasudeva in their previous life, they were performing austerities, penances, and then the Lord appears to them and asks them, "What do you want?" And they say, "We want to give birth to you as our baby." And the Lord gave them the benediction. "Yes, I will come as your baby." And simultaneously, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda were also performing penance. And then the Lord appeared to them. He asked them what they want. They say, "We want to bring you up as our baby." And he said, "Okay, I give you that benediction. I will come and let you bring me up as your baby." And so during the advent of Krishna, we see the story how Krishna appeared as the son. He came to Devaki and Vasudeva. They gave birth to him as their son, fulfilling the benediction he had given them. And then he asked Vasudeva to bring him to Nanda and Yashoda, so that they will get an opportunity to fulfill the benediction he has given them, as to bring him up as their baby. So my question is, if these benedictions that the Lord gave them actually is coming true, and still we are hearing that Yashoda gave birth to Krishna, doesn't it contradict the backstory of Yashoda being benedicted that I'll just come, because she was never benedicted that you will give birth to me. She was benedicted that you will bring me up as your baby.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand. Okay, let me see if my answer is applicable. Srila Prabhupada, when he gives the backstory of the two sets of parents, one Devaki and Vasudeva, and one Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, he explains that Devaki and Vasudeva were Sutapa and Prishni. So there were two yogis, and they got Krishna as their child 3 times. One as Prishnigarbha, one as Vamanadeva, and then as Krishna, Vasudeva, Krishna. While Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, it explained that they were Drona and Dhara. And there the Acharya explained that there is no description of blessing because they are somehow they were in the material world, but they were not like they did not have to perform penances. The difference is that they are eternally liberated and eternally the father and mother of Krishna. So while Sutapa and Prishni had to do a lot of austerity and very severe austerity described, they were eating only leaves and things like that. So Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj to get Drona and Dara, they didn't have to do these austerities because they are eternally liberated. So there is no contradiction because they have 2 different backgrounds. It's like, say you have two brothers. One is already a PhD, a doctor, professor, university. He doesn't have to go through exams, but maybe the other brother did not do all that. So he has to still go through 10, 20 exams, write papers and all that. You may say, but they're brothers. Yeah, but one is already a PhD. The other one did not do those studies or is much younger. So the parents of Krishna, they're not all the same. And I just given this as an example. We are talking about the parents, but even if we talk about the gopis, the acharyas explained that there were 4 types of gopis. Some are eternal associates that just come with Krishna, like Srimati Radharani or other main gopis. Some are the sages of Dandakaranya who fell really in a great attraction to Lord Ramachandra, and they said, we would like to have a Madhurya Ras with you because we really fell in love with you. We would like you to be our husband. So they were born as gopis. Then some, they were the wives of the Devatas, that they became gopis. They descended in some form, in some amsha, some expansion, they descended as gopis. And some, the 4th type category, are the personified Vedas. So like the personified goddesses or gods of the Vedas come down to Krishna, come down to be gopis for Krishna. So each associate has different backgrounds. Some are eternal, some are some are coming down, some are coming up. And to address this point of Sahadev Prabhu, that yeah, some they went back to the heavenly planet. Yeah, it's just like, again, the accordion sometimes is contracted. Say, okay, those souls who get up in Krishna Lila, then they go back home, back to God, meaning they go to Goloka Vrindavan. But some not. Some they are temporarily taking association, then they go back to, say, heavenly planets. I'm not sure, but maybe I'm just saying as an option, possibility, maybe also the personified Vedas, they go back as personified Vedas. So, but the principle, the Srila Prabhupada explains in more than once, is that the perfect soul, when they leave the body, they go for the first time in for the first time in Krishna's pastimes, but then they go finally. That's like a training ground. Look, I give you an example. I give you some quotes. These are partial quotes, just for us to take a look at them. This is the election Vrindavan 72. Living entity, when he's actually eligible by Krishna consciousness, by development of Krishna consciousness, then immediately after giving up this body is transferred to that universe where Krishna is there. Bhoma Lila. Bhoma Lila means the Lila in Bhoma, in literally on the earth, earthly pastimes. And after he's been trained up thoroughly, then he's transferred to the original Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavan. So, yeah, I'll give you another example, Srila Prabhupada. This is the year before in Gorakhpur in North India. He said, just like in Vrindavan, when Krishna was present, all the Vrindavana Vasis, they were not ordinary men. They were liberated. They transferred to associate with Krishna practice. And after this complete practice, they were transferred to the Goloka Vrindavan. And there are many more, many, I know other few quotes like that. So again, this concept, there is a general, we could say, rule or a shortened description, and then there are, we could say, individual cases or more detailed descriptions.
Well, some of these references, okay, sorry, Arichakra Prabhu, I don't know if you have something to say, but Prabhuji, some of these references you just shared is also somehow telling me that it is true that we did not come from the spiritual world, because if we came from the spiritual world and we are now in amnesia, and the amnesia is been cleared, what there is the need for any training to understand what goes on in the spiritual world. If we were originally from there, my assumption, my understanding will be that once we come out of our amnesia, we will understand immediately who we were, what we used to be. But now we have to be trained, which means that it has always been foreign to us.
Yes and no. You see, you are giving analogy like amnesia, and of course, we need to try to understand the spiritual realities with some realities to which we are somewhat familiar. That's a nature of analogy. Try to understand something we don't know through something we know. So we know amnesia. We have seen people sometimes. I personally had amnesia once. I completely forgot who I was. Then after a few minutes, it came back. But my point is, these analogies, they only go so far. And so I don't want to now like pontificate what's the best understanding. I'm just saying one point. It's a point of process. Then one can argue both ways. One can argue that, oh, we never been to the spiritual world. That's why when we had to go to the spiritual world, back or forward to the spiritual world, that's why we need training. But one can also argue with another analogy that, well, it's just like when you break your leg, you are, Krishna forbids, of course, when one breaks a leg, he have been walking naturally for years. But then after breaking a leg, he has to do some physiotherapy. He has to do some months of practice to get to walk again. So you could say, no, we were in the spiritual world, but now for so long we have been in the material world. So it's like breaking a leg. We need some physiotherapy. We need to readjust. I remember when I was for COVID, I was hospitalized twice. And after I came out, I need to do physiotherapy, just like not to really learn, but to get back the muscles of the legs, because staying in the hospital, you don't use the legs. Huh? So they become very, very weak. So they gave me all sorts of exercises to get my muscles back. So one can, with analogy, with logic, one can prove anything. One may say, no, we never knew how to walk. That's why. No, we knew how to walk, but we need practice because we broke the leg. So I'm just saying that analogies can be helpful, or it's a natural way to try to understand things. But Shastra, ultimately, it's what It's what's the conclusive truth, because we cannot get it really with our understanding.
Probably one more thing I would like to share, because you quoted Canto 10, chapter 5, texts 1 to 2, which Srila Prabhupada spoke there, quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So, and I read an article which Satyaraj Prabhu so beautifully wrote, and he also made reference to this quote. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada opens up by saying, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has discussed the significance of the words Nandas two. The word two, he says, is not used to fulfill the sentence, because without two, the sentence is complete. Therefore, the word two is used for a different purpose. Although Krishna, the areas where I want us to look into. Although Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki, Devaki and Vasudeva did not enjoy the Jata Karma, the festival of the birth ceremony. Instead, this ceremony was enjoyed by Nanda Maharaj. As stated here, Nandastu Atmaja Utpane Jatalado Mahamanaha. When Nanda Maharaj met Vasudeva, this was when Nanda Maharaj went to Mathura to pay his tax. He met Vasudeva. And then when Nanda Maharaj met Vasudeva, Vasudeva could not disclose to Nanda Maharaj, your son, Krishna, is actually my son. You are his father in a different way, spiritual. Because of fear of Kamsa, Vasudeva could not observe the festival for Krishna's birth. Nanda Maharaj took full advantage of this opportunity. Now, I remember some time ago in college, one friend, we were to write a paper, and this friend had written a paper and was describing a family member.
Your hair sometimes I've seen, huh? Just your hair.
Sorry. I was describing a family member, and I asked this friend, what is this family, what is the relation of this family member to you? And she said, I asked, is it your sister, your cousin, auntie? She says, no, she's not biologically related. So I said, then how do you say it's a family member? He says, oh, it's love. So even in this material world, there are lots of people who call themselves as the father, mother of a particular individual. Certain individuals refer to certain people as their father, their mother, but they are not biological. It's because they are bringing them up and they living with them as father and son. So from this description also, it appears to me that Vasudeva is caring for Krishna as his son, but Vasudeva is telling him that he is actually my son. You are a father to him on a different level, spiritual.
Yeah, because that was Vasudeva perception. That was Vasudeva rasa. So
Okay.
he obviously feels, yes, Krishna is my son, and Nanda Maharaj is taking care of him. That's like rasa type of things. Obviously, all these devotees, they have to somehow perceive, for the sake of the pastime, for the sake of the rasa, they have to perceive things, not necessarily in a purely historical way or even philosophical way. So they see through their understanding, through their rasa. Just like when Krishna was still very small, there is the Leela of Yashoda Devi looking to the mouth of Krishna, seeing everything, seeing all the universes, the planets, seeing even herself with Krishna inside the mouth of Krishna. But because her rasa is, she's the mother, she just was bewildered and said, wow, she didn't think, okay, this is God, the supreme personality of God, the absolute truth, this origin of the universe. No, it's just a, wow, it's something extraordinary. Krishna is really, really extraordinary. But that did not affect our motherly feeling like that. So sometimes these statements, this way of the devotees relating with Krishna or relating to each other are informed not necessarily by the historical details of the Leela, but mostly by their relationship with Krishna. So Vasudeva taught like that. Yes, that was his understanding.
Well, I'll have just one last question, and then I will stop questioning for the day. But thank you for the time and the patience, Prabhuji.
Oh, this is very, I mean, this is very stimulating. I mean, talking about Krishna on the basis of Shastra and Acharya, this is our goal of life in one sense, right? We are
Yeah.
here for this.
Yeah.
So to churn, to explore, that's what we are trying to do. And I don't have all the answers, but you know, whatever I read or I studied,
Yeah.
share.
We appreciate. We appreciate. Thank you. I have asked this question once or twice. I think twice to different people, and different devotees, I should say. And my question is: there is illusion and there is reality. We all want to be acting in reality. We don't want to be in illusion. But we see that Krishna has two potencies, Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. And Maya is illusion. Whether it is yoga illusion or material illusion, Maha, illusion is illusion. So when Krishna appeared to Devaki in his Vishnu form, they understood that, okay, this is Krishna. And then she prayed, he assumed the babyish form as Krishna. Well, but therefore, Vasudeva and Devaki, they understood that this is the Supreme Lord. And they understood that nobody can defeat him. Yet, Krishna, by the influence of his Yoga Maya, made them forget. And they made them fear that Kamsa is going to kill him. So this is Yoga Maya, which is illusion. Who can kill Krishna? But Krishna tricked them that Kamsa could kill him. So take me to Nanda's house. That is Yoga Maya. My Mahamaya, I'm sinful. So Mahamaya is dealing with me. I am also here thinking that enjoying material life, going to this movie, going to disco, eating this food, eating that food will give me happiness, joy. And lots of us are doing that. It's illusion. The Devaki is illusion. So those who are conditioned are influenced by Mahamaya. Those who are not conditioned are influenced by Yoga Maya. So who is actually living a real, true life? Because if you are not liberated, you are living in illusion, influenced by Mahamaya. If you are liberated, you are being influenced by Yoga Maya. So who in reality is living a true life, actual life?
Only a new bhakta.
That's a good one. Hare Krishna.
Because he opens his eyes. You know, he was in Maya, and then he reads the book, reads his Upanishad first times. Wow, I'm not the body. Wow, there is a God. Wow, the God is a person. And so just in that intermediate stage between gross Maya and then entering the pastimes of the Lord, one is conscious of the tattva.
Well, we have Shiva Vara Acharya Prabhu stand up. Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances, KAUNTEYA Prabhu. All glories to the Prabhupada, all glories to the Assembly devotees. Yeah, so thank you very much for the elaborate discussion. I want to ask question about, you said something about the Shastra takes precedence over analogy because we can always argue both sides on many issues. Now, there are cases where Shastra seems to be very clear.
Sorry?
But still,
Sorry, I didn't. There are cases
where Shastra seems to be very clear.
Okay.
But still, we still have different school of thoughts, and we are swayed to either want to accept what the spiritual authority, the gurus say, or what the Shastras say. And of course, I think Shastra should take precedence, like you rightly said. I give you two examples, and before giving the examples, I want to also mention the fact that on this platform, a sannyasi giving class when it comes to the issue of the fall down of the jiva from Vaikuntha or from the spiritual world, he categorically said, "I'm only saying what I'm saying because this is his composition, so it's a delicate issue." So we see that also people wanting to be politically correct, sometimes against their own belief, want to state the institution position. Because that sannyasi, I'll keep his name, but he did say that here on this platform. He said, "I'm sorry, I cannot go further because, well, this is what the society said we should say." And there are others who are actually bold enough to declare, their conviction. So I'll give you an example. I'm using that Jiva's fault example. So the scripture says, I may not be able to quote exactly from where, but you might be familiar with the quote, that in the spiritual world, Maya is absent. Maya is conspicuous by its absence. There's no influence of Maya. There's no influence of ignorance. There's no influence of ignorance. And because people are not affected by ignorance, there's no question of forgetting their relationship with Krishna. There's no point because there's Maya does not exist there. The second point, the scripture also says that even the leaves on the trees in Vaikuntha never fall. So there are such categorical statements about, in the spiritual world, the living entities there can never be affected by Maya. And thirdly, of course, there are many arguments, but I'll just give some things that the scriptures say. In the Gita, Krishna said in 15:16, I think, that this material world, there are two types of jivas. In this material world, there are the conditioned living entities. And in the spiritual world, there are the liberated living entities. So Krishna also makes us clear that there are two types of jivas, and those who are here, they belong here. And they may find their way they may eventually find their way to the spiritual world. But he said, I created two different living entities. Some are in the material world and some are in the spiritual world. He said, they are two different. That's the point. It's not that they are the same living entities, some living in the spiritual world, some living here. So anyway, I'm just trying to say where scripture seems to be categorical, but then we're getting inference meaning from some spiritual authority trying to say something different. So this is what I want to declare. Do you really stand by the fact that the Shastras take precedence and should be given a priority over other statements?
Thank you. I like to share a quote from a letter in which Srila Prabhupada discusses this. I put it in the chat so people can see, devotees can see. It's a letter to Satsvarupa of the 21st October 1975. Our authority is on the basis of Shastra, not analogy. Our authority is Shastra. We give analogy for the general mass of people who have no faith in Shastra. Analogy is not proof. Shastra is proof. Foolish people cannot understand or accept, so we use analogy. The conclusion is not drawn from the analogy, but from the Shastra. We don't use a combination of logic and authority, we use authority. Logic we use to convince someone who doesn't accept the authority. So, in other words, there are different ways to come to an understanding. Analogy is try to that helps understand us. In fact, even Shastra use analogy, but it to help us to understand something which is not known through something which is known. Like, let's say, for instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada say, just like in India, there is piles of rice, and then the scorpions come out of the rice. And some people think, oh, scorpions come from rice. But no, scorpions come from the eggs of the scorpion, which she laid the eggs in the rice. And then when the eggs are developed, the scorpions come out. So obviously we may not have seen scorpions coming from the rice, but in a rural situation, people know, oh, the rice, sometimes the scorpions come or other bugs come. So in rural India, people understand that, oh yeah, the scorpions. So similarly, the Shastra, the Srila Prabhupada says, similarly, the living entity comes out of Prakriti, but they are not created by Prakriti. They are different energy. And of course, there are many analogy. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, just like a big reservoir of water fulfills all the needs, all the function of a small well. Similarly, one who knows the Vedas, the purpose of the Vedas, get the benefit of all the Vedas. So analogies, we are not speaking against analogy, but we have to understand that they are limited in nature. It's just like if you have a bicycle. A bicycle is a good vehicle. It's actually very healthy, and within a certain distance, maybe is the best means of transportation. But if you are in Africa, you want to go to America, you cannot get there with a bicycle, practically speaking. I mean, you could go through Siberia, but practically speaking, you cannot go from Africa to America on a bicycle. So, but doesn't mean the bicycle is bad or we are preaching against the bicycle. So, an analogy as power, sometimes it really makes you having a haha moment. Oh, yeah, because it clarifies certain things that were not clear before, because we don't have experience of that real. Just like Srila Prabhupada says in the second canto, a very highly realized soul, he sees the pastimes of Krishna in the spiritual world, in his heart, while being in the material world. And he says it's like a spiritual television. Now, we know television. We're sitting on the front of this box and we see things happening in China, in Europe, in South America. So we have that experience of the TV, seeing things from very far in our room. So similarly, Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada says, when you have that level of realization, you can see what Krishna is doing, just like a spiritual television. So analogy is an illustration, but is not in itself a proof. So when we talk about the say origin of the soul or the fall of the jiva, we all know that it's a very contentious issue. It's a very conflictive issue. Some people strongly feel, oh, we come from the spiritual world. It's like, oh, we are there, but we are dreaming to be in the material world. This analogy, right? Somebody says, no, we are not coming from the spiritual world. Just like you say, the Bhagavad Gita say there is kshara and akshara. There are souls who are fallible and they belong here, and therefore some that are infallible, they belong there. And those fallible souls can move to the spiritual world through the process of bhakti yoga, through the joining the pastimes of Krishna in this world, and so on. So I hope this is clear. An analogy as a function, very precious function, very important function in the process of understanding, but it's not in itself a proof. And there is another reason. Also in Western logic, there is a fallacy. It's like proof from analogy. In other words, because somebody can find an analogy of something, some idea, doesn't mean that that is not a proof. Like, for instance, I read a book about these things. It was given during the Second World War. During the Second World War, one priest said, he was supporting the war, and he was saying we need to be purified by the blood of people dying, just like a plant growing is growing because of the water. So similarly, we will be purified by the blood of the soldiers. In other words, in one sense, it's a very crazy analogy, right? But he was using it as an analogy to prove his point. He was for war. So this is the limit of analogy. You have one idea, one point, one concept, theological, political, philosophical, and you can give some analogy that seems to support it. Anybody can create some analogy that seems to support the point. Just like we saw 10 minutes ago. One may say, no, we don't come to the spiritual world because means we need to learn to walk. It means you never walked. Or somebody may say, no, you broke your leg. You need to again use your leg. You need to relearn how to walk. But the analogy is not a proof. So we need to be careful when people, especially in this area, start giving analogy. Oh, it's like this. Oh, it's like that. We have to be careful. Okay, but what the Shastra says. And the Bhagavatam, this is just a fact, okay? The Bhagavatam, besides the special case of Jaya and Vijaya, we were cursed to fight and so on, we don't see any other soul coming from the Vaikuntha. We don't see any other soul coming from a stage before Mahavishnu. At least I'm just saying, I don't want to make an absolute statement, but I'm making a factual statement. In the Bhagavatam, we don't see that. In the Bhagavatam, we don't see souls falling from the spiritual world. Besides Jaya and Vijay. And in fact, in the beginning of the 7th canto, when Narada Muni started explaining, oh, actually, this Shishupal was a guard in Vaikuntha, Yudhishthir Maharaj is flabbergasted. He said, "What? How can it be? How can it be? How can the Vaikuntha person can come to this material world?" And then there is the old story, because they were cursed and then Krishna wanted to fight and all that explanation. But in the Bhagavatam, factually, we don't see that the process happening. We don't see it. We see the souls in this material world coming in and out of Mahavishnu. And then, once in a while, some people get liberated. But I mean, many of you, maybe all of you, are very senior devotee. You heard these things millions of times. At the end, doesn't change much what we have to do, right? Either we come from there or we go there. for the first time. Ultimately, the process is the same. We need to chant the holy name, purify our consciousness, develop an attraction for Krishna through the Bhagavatam, which you are doing so well, and that's a process, right? It doesn't change anything. Doesn't change anything. It's like either say you're now in America, like Sadeh Prabhu. Either he comes from Africa or he never been to Africa. He has to take the same flight, right? He has to take the same flight from wherever he flies, New York to Lagos or wherever flight he takes. Now you may say, no, but he was in Africa. No, but he was not in Africa. Okay, whatever it is, the flight is the same. He has to pay the same ticket. It's not that they say, no, but I'm from Africa. Okay, for you it's free. No, he has to go and buy the same ticket. Some people have never been to Accra. Still they have to pay the same ticket. Some people come from Accra, but still they have to pay the same ticket. So the sadhana is the same, right? But of course, we are human beings. We think philosophically, theologically. This is an important notion, our origin. So we talk, but ultimately it should not, we could say, affect our enthusiasm for the result. The result is the same, joining Krishna in his eternal pastimes.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. And thank you for allowing us to have this intriguing discussions.
Well, no, I must thank you because, I mean, I'm talking about these things because you engage me. Otherwise, I would probably do something much less, a much less level of spirituality. I want to just share another quote because we are talking about these things. This is from Krishna book. Okay, this is Srila Prabhupada, Krishna book, chapter 28. The fact is that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness and mature, pure devotional service are given the chance after death to gain Krishna's association in one of the universes within this material world. Krishna's pastimes are continuously going on, either in this universe or in another universe. The mature devotees who are completely executed Krishna consciousness are immediately transferred to the universe where Krishna is appearing. In that universe, the devotee gets their first opportunity to associate with Krishna personally and directly. The training goes on, and as we see in the Vrindavan Leela of Krishna within this planet. Now, you will find in your life devotees will say, you see, Srila Prabhupada says, the devotee gets the first opportunity. So that means they never were in Krishna. Or somebody will argue, no, first opportunity means first opportunity after falling from the spiritual world. So, I mean, we can argue endlessly, ultimately.
Yeah.
If we choose to argue endlessly, we can argue endlessly. But I'm not sure if that's the best way to get to Krishna Lok.
No, no, that's not the best way. But as living entities, we want to understand what you're doing. That is the problem. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'll share something with you later. But I think if no one has something else to say, then we may bring this to a close.
No, I think when Prabhu answered my question, I had wanted to follow up, but somehow
I think you were busy. Okay.
Something's proper. Yeah, I understand the portion where Prabhu said that Nanda and Yashoda are eternal associates of Krishna. I perfectly understand that aspect of it. It's like Jai and Vijay are eternal associates of Krishna. But when they were given the benediction to come to the material world, they followed to the letter, the what do we call it? The benediction that was given them. So similarly, what I was asking is that Nanda and Yashoda, the backstory of them, even though they are eternal associates of the Lord, but because the Lord is about to perform his pastimes, he uses, something. That's why this backstory happened. And I know Nanda and Yashoda, they are eternal associates. They never even leave the spiritual world. But maybe some expansion of them or something were the ones that perform the austerities. But my question is, since they were given the benediction that this is what you are asking for, to bring me up as your children, so I'm going to fulfill that desire. So the simple question I asked was that if Krishna fulfilled the desire, as I understood it reading the Krishna book, then that is my understanding says me, pacifies my heart. But if Yashoda gave birth to Krishna, then it means there's something wrong with the benediction that they had. And that is what I wanted clarification. I'm only concerned about the benediction that they were given, unless maybe I did not read that story properly. And Prabhu, I stand to be corrected.
Okay, you see, again, there are certain dynamics in the Lila. Now, I just want to share a translation and the purport. This again from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. Because we're talking about that. So let me share in the chat. And this is Bhagavatam 10:8:49. Okay. So this is Drona and Dara talking with Lord Brahma. Talking with Lord Brahma. So they say, Drona and Dara said, please permit us to be born on the planet's Earth so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the personality of God, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets will also appear and spread devotional service. The ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may be very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service. Srila Prabhupada said this statement by Drona clearly indicates that Drona and Dhara are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. Whenever there is a necessity of Krishna appearance, Drona and Dhara appear first, and then Krishna appears. In other words, there may be a benediction in the dynamics of the pastimes, but sometimes the benediction doesn't mean that it's functional or is the cause of that pastime. It's like saying, let's say, for instance, your guru tells you, can you please close the door? Now, he asking as a favor, can you please close the door? Because he's culture. So he said, can you please close the door? But he doesn't need to ask you to please close the door. Is this door? You can just say, close the door. So you say, why yes, please? Is this door? I'm his disciple. There's no need of please. You follow? In other words, he's asking as if it was a favor for you to close the door, but actually you had to close the door. It is his door. So there's no doubt. Will you close the door or not? There's no doubt, right? Is his door? You say, please close the door. It has the appearance of him asking a favor, right? Because he's culture, he's educated, he has good manners. So it just doesn't, he may or may not say, close the door. He say, please, can you close the door, right? So it looks like he is asking a favor, but it's actually, you have to close the door. So similarly, sometimes there are some benediction. Like I give you another example. Sometimes there are stories of Sudarshan appearing in Krishna Lila. Now, we need to understand theologically, Sudarshan is eternally with Krishna. It's like really part of his being is Krishna as a weapon, and this weapon is devotees, personified, and is eternally with Krishna. Full stop. Okay, it's part of his swarupa. It's a manifestation of his swarupa. just like his clothes. It's not that Krishna needs to go and buy clothes in a shop. He eternally has clothes. Like talking about Devaki and Vasudeva, when he appears with the clothes already, right? So these aspects are always with Krishna, but there are many pastimes in different Puranas that Shiva gives Sudarshan to Krishna, Varuna gives Sudarshan to Krishna, Vishwakarma gives Sudarshan to Krishna. So many people, I noticed because I did a little research on this, many Hindus really believe that, oh, Sudarshan was not there. And then there are even there's a place in South India near a river. Oh, here is where Krishna got the Sudarshan. But actually, yes, there is a dynamic of the Leela. But actually, we know Sudarshan is eternal. It just makes an entry. Just like you have a stage and there is an actor coming in, but the actor already existed. But he makes an entry into the stage because of the drama, because of the play, because of the script, right? He comes after some actors come first, some actors comes later, after an hour, 1 hour, but they're all there. So similarly, sometimes, yes, there is a benediction, but the benediction is only a formality. Just like the guru asking you, can you please close the door? It's not asking you a favor. It's just telling you to close the door, but in a nice way. So similarly, in the past time, sometimes the devotee receive a blessing, but the blessing is not the root of that. Does it help?
Okay. Prabhuji, I think Krishna is happy
Okay.
hearing us discuss about himself and his devotees, because I think he said that somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita that his devotees enjoy discussing him, and he also enjoys being discussed by his devotees, because there are so many things said in the scriptures which give room for us to discuss, because they appear to be seemingly contradictory, even though we know there are no contradictions. But I think that is why these meetings, discussions are very, very sweet. And of course, when we have somebody like you as the patience and the love and the understanding to share with us, it makes it much sweeter. So thank you so much. You rightly said Yashoda and Nanda, they are eternal associates. I have been wondering, are they in the spiritual world? Does Mother Yashoda try to breastfeed Krishna in the spiritual world? I doubt, but we'll leave it to another time. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my obeisances, all of you.
Prabhuji, hold on, please. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Grace, Sri KAUNTEya Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mancha kalpa tarabhishya, kripa sindhu Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glories to His Grace, KAUNTEya Prabhu ki
All glories
jai.
to Prabhu.
All glories to Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki
All
Jai.
the assembled Vaishnavas ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Thank you all devotees. And thank you. We hope to see you again tomorrow.